Marina stood in the small kitchen, her hands shaking as she stirred the sauce. The soft hum of the stove was the only sound in the quiet room. She glanced at the clock on the wall. It was already past 6, later than she had planned. Every evening, she tried her best to serve Raj a hot meal when he returned from work. Tonight, traffic had slowed her down more than usual. Her heart pounded as she plated the rice and vegetables, arranging them neatly on the table. She took a deep breath, hoping he would understand. Outside, the sun dipped low, casting long shadows through the curtained window. Marina wiped her forehead. With the back of her hand, her apron damp with sweat. She pictured Raj's weary face when he sat down to eat. He worked long hours, and she loved watching him relax over dinner. She felt a warm glow in her chest at the thought of his gentle smile. But tonight, that glow turned to cold fear. She carried the steaming plates into the living room, her steps unsteady. Raj walked through the front door before she could set the dishes down. He dropped his bag with a thud. His eyes were sharp and his shoulders were tense. Marina's stomach tightened as she placed the food on the small coffee table.
Dinner is ready,
she said softly, hoping to catch his tired gaze. Instead, he glared at her. In his eyes, she saw anger she had never seen before. She opened her mouth to explain, but no words came out. Without warning, Raj raised his hand and struck her cheek. The sharp sting on her skin made her head snap to the side. Pain bloomed where his palm had landed, and Marina felt tears prick her eyes. She stumbled back, her heart hammering loudly in her chest. Before she could steady herself, Raj grabbed her arm and pushed her toward the door. Her bag slipped from her shoulder and scattered on the floor. Plates rattled on the table. The warmth of the meal spilled onto the carpet. Marina crossed the threshold, her toes brushing the cool concrete of the front porch. The door slammed behind her with a force that shook the walls. She stared at the house she had called home just moments before. The warm light spilling from the windows felt cruel now, as if it belonged to someone else. Her cheeks burned, not from the slap, but from the flood of shame and confusion. She pressed her palm to her face, feeling the soft curve of her cheekbones still tender. The street was quiet and empty. A lone street lamp flickered, casting a weak circle of light on the pavement. Marina's breathing came in quick, shallow bursts. Her fingers trembled as she smoothed her hair, brushing back stray strands that had fallen over her eyes. She felt sudden dizziness, her knees growing weak. The night air kissed her skin, cool and distant. The darkness pressed in around her, and she felt small and lost. Marina sank to the bottom step of the porch, folding her legs beneath her. She wrapped her arms around her body, trying to shelter herself from the cold and the shock. She thought of the life she had planned with Raj, quiet nights cooking together, soft music playing in the background, laughter rising above the clatter of dishes. She had believed they would grow old, side by side. Now those dreams lay shattered at her feet. A single tear slipped down Marina's cheek. She blinked hard, refusing to let the flood come. But the pain she felt went deeper than her skin. It carved through her heart. So she sat in silence, the broken plates inside forgotten, the empty streets watching her. For the first time, she felt truly alone and utterly afraid of what would come next. Marina hugged her knees as she sat on the curb, the cool night air brushing against her bare ankles. Her breath came in shaky waves. Every thought inside her head felt heavy and jumbled. She tried to piece together what had just happened, but the memory of Raj's anger blurred in her mind. The faint glow of the street lamp made her shadow stretch long across the pavement, and she felt as though her own reflection looked like a stranger. She closed her eyes tightly, hoping the pain in her cheek would fade. But inside her chest, her heart ached even more than her skin. She shifted her weight, her skirt rustling against the concrete, making her jump. Her bag lay open beside her, shoes scattered across the porch steps. Marina felt too tired to gather them. She pressed her fingers to the mark on her cheek, her skin still tender. The world around her felt too big and too empty at the same time. Tears slipped freely down her face, and she did nothing to stop them. Shame and fear mixed together into a bitter taste in her mouth. Across the street, headlights swept suddenly into view. A black SUV slowed near her house, its engine humming softly. Marina opened her eyes, startled by the sound. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. The SUV door opened, and a tall man in a crisp uniform stepped onto the pavement. His posture was straight, his boots shining in the lamplight. He paused, surveying the scene with calm, alert eyes. Something in his face looked familiar. The man crossed the street with long, confident strides. Marina's heart raced as he approached, moved with ease, like someone used to danger but untroubled by it.
Shh.
He knelt down beside her, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder. Marina froze, her tears stalling for a moment. She peered up at him, her face streaked with tears and the red imprint of Raj's hand. The man's eyes softened when he saw the mark, and concern warmed his expression. "Marina?" he said, his voice low but steady. Even in the dim light, she could see the surprise in his eyes. He sounded certain, as though he already knew her name. Marina's mind raced back to days filled with drills, laughter, and shared trials. She remembered his calm strength under fire, his gentle voice when she felt afraid. "Arman," she whispered, her voice cracking. He gave a small, relieved smile as though he had been searching for her. He offered his hand, and Marina felt a flicker of hope she had not felt since Raj's betrayal. Arman helped her to her feet, steadying her with a firm yet gentle grip. Marina rested her weight against him, her legs unsteady. She felt the solid warmth of his body beside her, a comfort she had missed more than she realized. The distant hum of the SUV's engine felt like a promise of safety now. Marina's tears fell again, but this time they were mixed with relief. Arman glanced around the empty street, as if deciding what to do next, and then turned back to her. In that moment, Marina felt the night shift around her from cold fear to the first glimmer of hope. Marina followed Arman down the quiet street toward a small, brightly lit cafe. Her legs still trembled, but his steady presence at her side gave her courage. The neon sign buzzed above the door, open late. Inside, the air smelled of coffee and warm pastries. A few late-night patrons sat at tables, speaking in low voices. Arman guided Marina to an empty booth by the window. She slid onto the worn red seat, her fingers brushing against the smooth tabletop as she tried to steady her racing heart. Arman sat across from her and gently placed his jacket over her shoulders. "You look cold," he said. Marina felt the warmth of his concern more than the coat. She reached for a menu but found her hands too shaky to hold it. Arman flagged the server and ordered 2 cups of hot tea and a plate of steaming soup. Marina watched him with grateful eyes, the memory of his calm voice during their old drills giving her comfort now. When their drinks arrived, Marina cupped the warm mug in her hands. Tiny wisps of steam rose and tickled her face. She inhaled deeply, savoring the spicy aroma. Arman waited patiently, his military posture softened into quiet kindness. He did not press her to speak, but his steady gaze told her that he was ready to listen. Marina took a small sip of tea, letting the warmth settle in her chest. Finally, she spoke in a voice so soft it barely rose above the cafe hum. "Raj slapped me," she whispered. She paused, her breath catching. Arman's expression tightened, but he remained silent. "He threw me out for serving dinner late. I don't know why." Tears welled again, and Marina closed her eyes, ashamed. She remembered the moment her world shattered, the angry glare, the sharp slap, the slam of the door. Each memory stung with fresh pain. Arman reached across the table and took her hand. His touch was gentle but firm. "It's not your fault," he said. Marina opened her eyes, surprised. No one had defended her until now. She felt the truth of his words settle into her bones. She drew a shaky breath and told him everything, the quiet tension at home, Raj's sudden anger, and how isolated she felt when she married him. With each word, she felt the weight lift slightly from her shoulders. As she spoke, Arman listened without judgment. He nodded in understanding and offered quiet words of comfort. "You deserve respect," he said softly. "You deserve kindness." Marina's tears fell, but they felt purifying, as though each drop washed away a piece of her fear. The cafe's warm light seemed to brighten around her, chasing back the shadows of the porch where she had sat alone. After she finished, Armand folded a napkin and handed it to her. Marina wiped her face and took another sip of tea. The soup arrived then, and she hesitated before picking up the spoon. Armand encouraged her, "Eat a little. You need your strength." Marina stirred the soup slowly, savoring its gentle warmth. With each spoonful, she felt more grounded. Armand watched her with a caring smile that reminded her of better days when they shared laughs under a sky full of stars. When she had finished eating, Marina looked up at him and managed a small, genuine smile. The fear that had clung to her felt lighter now. "Thank you," she said simply. Armand squeezed her hand once more. Beyond the cafe window, the night stretched on, but inside that small corner of light, Marina felt safe. For the first time since Raj's betrayal, she believed she could move forward and that she would not have to face her future alone. Marina sat at the edge of the cafe booth, her heart still fluttering from the warmth she felt with Armand. He watched her in quiet patience while she gathered her thoughts. The soft clink of cups and low murmur of voices around them created a gentle background that soothed her nerves. She realized she had rested here longer than she intended, and the world outside felt different now, less threatening, more full of possibility. Armand unfolded a small notepad from his pocket and offered Marina a pen. "Write down what you want to do next," he suggested kindly. Marina's fingers hovered over the paper, unsure at first. Then, in careful handwriting, she wrote her sister's address and phone number. Her sister Amira lived a few neighborhoods away and would surely take her in. When she handed the paper back, her eyes met Armand's with gratitude. He nodded and tucked the note into his jacket. Outside, a cool breeze drifted through the cafe's open door. Marina felt the first flicker of hope move through her chest, chasing away the last tremors of fear. She thought of Raj's harsh words and the cold weight of shame she carried with her. But now she felt something stronger. Courage. Armand stood and offered his hand. "Let's go see your sister," he said softly. Marina took his hand, her pulse steadying as she trusted him to lead the way. They walked together under the streetlights, the city asleep around them. Marina clutched her small bag, the one she had hastily grabbed from home. Inside were a few clothes, her phone, and Armand's jacket around her shoulders. Each step felt lighter than the one before. The memories of Raj's cruelty still lingered, but they were fading into the distance behind her, replaced by Armand's steady presence beside her. When they reached Amira's apartment building, Marina's hand shook as she pressed the buzzer. A moment later, her sister's warm face appeared on the intercom screen. "Marina!" Amira's voice was full of surprise, then concern. Marina managed a small smile and explained in a trembling voice what had happened. Seconds later, the door buzzed open. Marina hurried inside, tears of relief mingling with her smile. In Amira's living room, soft lamps cast a welcoming glow. Amira embraced her tightly, murmuring soothing words into Marina's hair. Marina buried her face in her sister's shoulder, letting the safety of home wash over her. Armand stood back, giving them space but remaining close enough to help, if needed. Amira gently took Marina's hand and guided her to a plush armchair. Offering her a cup of tea and a soft blanket, Marina sank into the chair, holding the warm mug in both hands. She looked up at Armand, who offered her an encouraging nod. "You," she whispered. He smiled and stepped away gracefully, giving her room to settle in. Amira sat beside Marina and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Marina felt the firm press of sisterly love, a love that stood in stark contrast to Raj's betrayal. Her heart swelled with gratitude. As Marina sipped her tea, she realized how far she had come. Earlier that night, she had sat alone on a cold porch, scared and ashamed. Now she was surrounded by people who cared, who valued her safety and happiness. She took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the blanket and the gentle hum of her sister's comfort. In that moment, Marina knew she would rebuild her life step by careful step with courage, love, and the strength she had nearly forgotten she possessed. Marina woke the next morning to the soft light filtering through the curtains. She stretched slowly, feeling the warmth of the blanket still around her shoulders. The events of the previous night felt distant and unreal, yet the slight ache in her cheek reminded her they were true. She sat up and looked around Amira's cozy apartment, the walls painted in soft pastels and decorated with family photos. A sense of peace settled over her. In the kitchen, Amira hummed a gentle tune as she brewed coffee. The rich aroma filled the small space. Marina joined her sister at the table, sipping hot tea. Amira offered a plate of toast and fresh fruit. "Take your time," she said with a reassuring smile. Marina nodded, her fingers wrapped around the warm mug. She felt safe here, surrounded by care rather than anger. After breakfast, Marina pulled out her phone and scrolled through missed calls and messages. Some were from friends, worried and offering help. One message from her neighbor mentioned having seen Raj leave early that morning. She realized she needed to take steps to protect herself. With trembling hands, Marina dialed the local domestic support helpline her sister had given her. A kind voice on the other end guided her to a safe shelter option and explained her rights. As she hung up, Marina felt a new surge of strength. She shared the details with Amira, who listened without interruption. Her sister's presence felt like a solid rock beneath her feet. Amira promised to accompany her to the police station if she chose to file a report. Marina hesitated, fear creeping back, but she remembered Armand's words, "You deserve respect, you deserve kindness." Those words echoed in her mind, pushing her forward. Later that afternoon, Armand arrived at Amira's door. His uniform was replaced by plain clothes, but his calm authority remained. He knelt to speak with Marina at eye level, offering a box of simple gifts, a warm sweater and a journal. "For when you need to write down your thoughts," he said softly. Marina's eyes filled with tears again, but these felt different tears of gratitude. She accepted the gifts with a nod. Together, they sat in the living room as Marina slowly described her decision to seek legal protection. Armand offered practical advice, explaining how to request a restraining order and how to document incidents. She felt empowered by his support. When she looked at him, she saw not only her protector, but also a friend who believed in her strength. The fear that had once ruled her heart felt smaller now, overshadowed by determination. That evening, Marina took out the new journal. She wrote about her feelings, the shame, the fear, and the first glimmers of hope. Each word on the page carried weight, helping her understand herself better. She paused when she reached Armand's name, writing slowly about how safe she felt. With him nearby, the act of writing felt healing, as if each line stitched her heart back together. As night fell, Marina prepared a simple dinner in Amira's kitchen. She chopped vegetables with care, savoring the normalcy of cooking without fear. Amira set the table, and Armand washed the dishes afterward, chatting quietly about lighter things, favorite films, childhood memories.
Laughter bubbled up between
them. Marina realized how much she had missed genuine joy. Before leaving, Armand placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone," he said. Marina smiled, feeling warmth spread through her. She knew the road ahead would have challenges, but with her sister's love and Armand's steadfast support, she felt ready to face whatever came next. In that moment, she believed in her own strength, believing that the future held kindness, respect, and the promise of a new beginning. Marina woke before sunrise, the soft light of dawn filtering through Amira's curtains. She sat on the edge of the bed, wrapping her arms around her knees and breathing deeply. Today, she had an appointment at the police station to file for protection. Though her heart fluttered with nerves, she felt a steady determination in her chest. She rose and dressed in simple clothes, jeans, a light sweater, and Armand's warm jacket. Each piece felt like armor, a promise of safety stitched into fabric. Amia met her in the kitchen with 2 steaming mugs of tea.
"You're brave,"
she said, placing a mug in Marina's hands. Marina managed a small, grateful smile. The warmth of the tea spread through her fingers and into her heart. They walked together to the car, Amira driving while Marina held the mug on her lap. City streets were calm at this hour, and Marina watched the world wake up in soft oranges and pinks. She felt as though the sky was encouraging her to take this step. At the police station, Marina's hands trembled as she walked through the glass doors. A helpful officer greeted them and led Marina to a quiet room. With Amira beside her and Armand already waiting outside, Marina told her story again, every detail of Raj's cruelty, the fear she lived with, and her urgent need for protection. The officer listened with respect and wrote down each word carefully. When Marina finished, he assured her that a restraining order would be issued that same afternoon. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were tears of relief. After the appointment, Amira and Marina walked to a nearby park. Falling leaves drifted around them, and Marina found a bench by a small pond. She closed her eyes, letting the breeze soothe her. Amira sat close, holding her hand. Marina felt the power of her sister's love and the kindness of the world around her. She thought of how much courage it had taken to come here and how much more she had grown since last night. The bench felt like a sanctuary, a place where she could finally rest. Later that day, Armand stopped by with news. The restraining order was approved, and the court date was set for next week. He handed Marina a printed copy of the order. She traced the typed words with her fingertip. No contact. Prohibited from approaching, and felt a rush of safety flood her chest. She looked at Armand, eyes bright with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. He shrugged, offering a gentle, reassuring smile. "You did this for yourself," he said. Marina realized he was right. She had found her strength. That evening, Marina returned to journaling. She wrote about the steps she had taken today, the police station, the order, the park bench where she had sat in the sun. Each sentence was a marker of her journey away from fear and toward independence. When she finished, she read her words aloud and felt a swell of pride. The path ahead still held uncertainties. It was not over, but she no longer felt alone. She had her sister. She had Armand, and most importantly, she had herself. As night fell, Marina prepared a simple dinner in Amira's kitchen. She chopped fresh vegetables and cooked rice, humming softly. The act of cooking felt healing, a return to the life she once knew. Amira and Armand joined her at the table. They ate together by candlelight, sharing soft conversation and laughter that did not hide pain. Marina realized how precious these moments were, moments of peace, earned through courage. After dinner, she cleared the dishes while Armand washed them. It's just as simple and kind as any good partner should be. Before leaving that night, Armand placed a gentle hand on Marina's shoulder. "You're doing wonderfully," he said. Marina smiled, her heart full. She looked at her reflection in the window, a woman who had faced fear, who had reached out for help, and who had begun to rebuild her life with courage and hope. With each passing day, she felt more whole. Tonight she drifted to sleep knowing that tomorrow held new steps to take and that she would walk them with her head held high. Marina woke to a gentle rain tapping on the window, a soft rhythm that felt like nature's reassurance. She stretched and sat up, breathing in the fresh, cool air. The apartment felt peaceful, a sanctuary from the storm of her past life. She rose, pulled on a warm sweater, and walked to the small balcony. Below, puddles reflected gray clouds, and the world looked washed clean. Marina let the moment sink in. She was safe, and she was free. Inside, Amira was already in the kitchen, humming as she prepared breakfast. The smell of warm toast and honey filled the air. Marina smiled and joined her sister at the table. They ate quietly for a while, enjoying simple food and each other's company. Then Marina spoke, her voice calm. "Today is the court hearing," she said. Amira reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "I'll be there with you," she promised softly. Later that morning, Marina and Amira arrived at the courthouse. Gray stone columns rose overhead, giving the building a solemn dignity. Inside, they found Marina's case file waiting on a clerk's desk. Her heart fluttered, but she took a steadying breath. With her sister by her side, she walked into the courtroom. The judge greeted them kindly and asked Marina to speak. Marina stood tall and told the court everything: Raj's anger, the slap, the fear, and her choice to protect herself. Her voice was clear, carrying the weight of truth. When she finished, the judge nodded gravely. "The court grants your request for a permanent restraining order," he declared. Relief washed through Marina like warm sunlight. Tears pricked her eyes, but they were gentle tears, tears of victory. She thanked the judge and gathered her papers. Outside the courtroom, Amira hugged her tight. Marina leaned into her sister's warmth, feeling the strength of family love. On the walk home, the rain had stopped, and pale sunshine broke through the clouds. Marina paused under a tree, looking up at droplets glistening on leaves. She closed her eyes and let the light touch her face. The fear that had once clouded her mind felt distant now. She felt a new sense of wonder at the simple beauty around her. Turning, she saw Amira smiling and felt gratitude fill her heart. That evening, Armand came by for a small celebration. He carried a bouquet of wildflowers, bright daisies, and purple lavender. Marina's eyes lit up at the sight. They reminded me of your strength, he said quietly. Marina accepted the flowers, their bright petals a stark contrast to the gray days she had known. They sat together in the living room, sipping tea and sharing stories of ordinary joys, childhood memories, favorite songs, and dreams for the future. Laughter echoed through the apartment, weaving new, happy memories. After Armand left, Marina returned to her journal. She wrote about today's victory and how it felt to speak her truth in court. She wrote about the first time she smiled without fear and about the kindness that had found her when she needed it most. Each word on the page felt like a brick added to the foundation of her new life. When she closed the journal, she felt whole. In the following days, Marina began volunteering at the local support center that had helped her. She shared her story with other women in quiet group meetings, offering hope and listening with gentle understanding. Each time she spoke, she felt her confidence grow. The fear that had once silenced her was now a voice that guided others to find their own courage. One sunny afternoon, Marina walked through a nearby park, her steps light. She paused by the pond and watched ducks glide across the water. A gentle breeze stirred her hair. She picked a small daisy from the grass, twirling it between her fingers. In that simple moment, she felt the full power of her journey from fear to freedom, from silence to voice. She smiled, truly smiled, and held the flower close. As she headed home, Marina thought of the future. She saw herself building a life, filled with respect, kindness, and purpose. She knew challenges would come, but she also knew she had the strength to face them. With her sister's love, Armand's support, and her own unwavering courage, Marina felt ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. And in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning of her new, hopeful story.